The Indian Parliament. So what are India's lawmakers doing to deal with potential threats? They are locking horns with each other. One more day is left in the budget session of Parliament, and the legislative business conducted will stun you. Take a look at these images. This is how most days of this session look like. According to PRS Legislative Research, a research organization that tracks the Indian Parliament, only 1% of productive time in the lower house was spent on passing legislation. In other words, 99% of the time was wasted in shouting and adjournment. Similarly, our lawmakers in the upper house only work for 6% of the total time, the 6% on doing what they are supposed to do. And on your screens are two popular leaders. One is Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, and the other is Emmanuel Macron, the President of France. Both are leaders of two thriving democracies, and both are facing challenges, democratic challenges. In India, as we already know, and we showed you, Parliament is dysfunctional as opposition says it has no confidence in the government. The government on its part has failed to convince opposition to discuss and debate instead of protesting in Parliament. Whereas in France, Emmanuel Macron has vowed to restore the credibility of political class. After all, who was Emmanuel Macron until he became the President of France last year? The election of a political outsider reflects upon the state of politics in France. So France is now cutting the number of lawmakers by almost a third. Macron's government and the head of the opposition-controlled Senate have agreed on the political reforms. The French government believes political reform will speed up the lawmaking process and give voice to the underrepresented sections. Nobody in India is talking about such measures. In fact, you can barely make out what they are talking about. They should flood the well of the House and walk out. Why can the government and the opposition behave like grown-ups for a change? This isn't supposed to be a rant. We're afraid it sounds like one, but what do you do in the face of such charades? The government has found a novel way to embarrass the opposition. Parliament members of the ruling part say they will forego their salary of the 23 days the Parliament did not function, an awful attempt to claim the moral high ground. Unfortunately for them, one of their own refused to part with his salary on grounds that it wasn't their fault. Well, is it our fault that we voted for them?